Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to the latest episode of the My Coach Ben podcast. So firstly, a huge thanks to everyone for the interaction and the messages from the last episode, which was to do with culture, and is something that we might even touch on a little bit later in this one. So thanks very much for that, and I think we may revisit the topic of culture in a future episode, so watch this space. So in today's episode, we're going to be looking at a very personal topic, and this is something which we all have, and at the same time, it's something that separates us all from each other. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the topic of personality profiling, and to be more specific, disc profiling. This is a topic that I covered in the main blog at the beginning of the year, and I thought it would be a nice one to unravel here in a bit more of a personal, face-to-face environment. So before we get into it, I'm going to do my usual thing and ask you to like, subscribe, press the notification bell so you get notified when more content comes up. And of course, as always, I'm on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and of course the good old-fashioned www.mycoachben. So please follow, like and subscribe, tell your friends, your colleague, and let's continue to build the community. Thanks to everyone that's interacted so far, and I've been overwhelmed again by the amount of support and the amount of views, so huge thanks for that. Thanks very much. Okay, let's begin. What is personality profiling? As you know by now, I'm one for a definition, and the Oxford English Dictionary defines firstly personality as the combination of characteristics or qualities that form our individual distinctive character. And it defines profiling as the recording and analysis of a person's psychological and behavioural characteristics so as to assess or predict in a certain sphere or as to assist in identifying categories of people. Now, the profiling bit does sound a little bit 1984-like, but I guarantee you Big Brother has no place here. This is more about understanding how we are individually and in a group. At any time in your career, it's useful to take a step back and to, make an assessment of your personality and see if you match with your perception of yourself, and more importantly as well, is how other people may perceive you, because this is also very interesting to know. So what is disc profiling? A disc profile is essentially a method whereby one's behaviour is aggregated into four main areas: dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance, or which is sometimes called conscientiousness. And the test is designed to see how much of each of these four elements represent your personality. Whether you're an aspiring leader, contemplating a job or career change, the insight is an invaluable tool. So armed with this information, you'll be able to get greater insight, let's say, not insight, that doesn't exist, insight into how you are as a person, and as I said before, how others view you. And this in turn can help you to decide whether you feel you're working in an area that suits you, or whether, in fact, it might be time for a change. How does it work? The disc profile is a test which is made up of multiple choice questions, usually between 20 or 30, and these are made up of 5 statements. And essentially, you just select the statement which you feel you agree with more, or is more in line with how you are, or as opposed to which one you feel doesn't match or you agree with the least. What's important when you do the test is not to overthink the questions. And like a lot of things, it's important to remember that this is not about what's right or what's wrong. It's just about choosing the statements that you feel fit you the best. So here on the screen, if technology doesn't fail me, is an example of one of the questions. So here it says, people look up to me. I tend to be a kind person. I accept life as it comes. People say I have a strong personality. And once you've completed all of the questions, then you get your answer. Now, there's many of these that are available on the internet. There are many books as well on the topic. I'll give an example of one later, which is really good. So once you've completed the test, now what? Well, the first thing to remember is that these questions are subjective, but having said that, they do have a huge bearing on reality and how you see yourself. There are many factors which can affect the answers that you give. It depends on your life situation, your career situation, even the mood that you're in. But I know from my personal experience, and I've done this many times, that actually more times than not, you will get very similar results. And I've taken these tests in quite a few interview situations, and on some occasions I've been successful and I've got the job, and in other occasions I've not been successful for whatever reason that could be. I just can't understand why. So from the coaching perspective, it's about being your thinking partner and reviewing the results. So questions that come to mind will be, how do the results compare with your own view of yourself? And what surprised you about the results? What didn't surprise you about the results? And how can you use the results in your current work or life situation? You'll discover what resonates with you and what doesn't. Essentially as well to remember is that when you look at the results, it won't just be in one of these directions. Most people will have two very distinct biases. Now, in my experience and in my case, I was very much on the dominant and influence side, which is red and yellow, according to the traditional colours for disc profiling, which actually makes a lot of sense. In many organisations, disc profile is frequently employed to assess and understand an individual's behavioural styles and preferences. So each letter, as we know, stands for dominance, influence, steadiness, and consciousness or compliance, as we know. So employers use these traits to gain more insights into their employees' communication styles, work preferences, and yes, to understand how they will get on with other employees. Employers can use these traits to gain more insights into the employees' communication styles, work preferences, and work styles. And thus, armed with this information, most employers will use this to improve the team dynamics, enhance communication channels, and facilitate, of course, effective conflict resolution processes. And of course, when we mention communication channels and conflict resolution, this goes hand in hand with the last episode's topic, which was culture, because it all depends, of course, on what kind of culture the company has, and of course, personalities that are going to be in line with the company's culture. Another important use for disc profiling in the workplace or the organisation can help with performance assessments and career development and talent management. How could an organisation go about implementing a disc profiling process? Well, the first point would be to conduct research. So you need to acquire knowledge about disc profiling, the different methods, and of course the costs, because most of them aren't free, unfortunately. So select a disc assessment, whether this is going to be online or directly face-to-face, and of course one which is in line with your budget. So engage the teams and inform the team members that the profiles will be conducted to improve the communication and the performance in the team. So assess the results and review the collected data to see if there are any patterns or similarities among the employees. And a very important step is to provide feedback. So provide the employees with information as to what the results are and ask for their feedback. Do they agree with the results? The coaching questions that I mentioned previously, these would be an important step here. And the results can be used to strengthen collaboration and communication with the teams. And last but not least, we can make an action plan. So based on the results, can develop a plan of action to enhance the communication, and perhaps there's some training needed on either side, maybe from those providing the assessments or from those that have taken the assessments. So overall, this is an invaluable tool that helps to provide a lot of insight into not just employees but also leaders to develop and engage and help the whole workforce to cooperate. And through the magic of YouTube, before we wrap this up, I'd like to present this book here, which is called Surrounded by Idiots. It was a book that was recommended to me by a coaching client, actually. It's written by a gentleman called Thomas Erickson, and it's called, Surrounded by Idiots, The 4 Types of Human Behaviour, or How to Understand Those Who Cannot Be Understood. So it's a very, very interesting read, very funny as well. It's available on Amazon and all the regular places. I can't recommend it highly enough. It's a very entertaining book. So let's wrap it up there. Thanks very much for coming along, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. Of course, like, subscribe, tell your colleagues and your friends, and of course, follow on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and good old-fashioned www.mycoachben.com. Until next time, thanks very much and peace. Your Coach Ben. And I'll start by saying at any time in our dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance. And this compliance is, so how does it work? The disc profile test is, stop saying so. Of course, you can proceed further along the chosen path that you're already. And again, I'm on Facebook, Instagram. No, just simply answer, not what comes in. So employers, and how could a company go about